Testing, testing. Okay, that sounds like it's working. Looks good. I have one participant here already. Good afternoon, Mark Daniels here. Thank you for spending this time with me this afternoon and with results. Today's webinar is designed to be very educational. I will do a brief infomercial on the results platform, specifically the results strategic planning component at the end of the webinar. But everything I talk about today can be applied to your business without the use of the results platform. So really designed to be educational today. So thank you. Let's kick it off. So again, I'm Mark Daniels. I'm the CEO of ResultsBI. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about my past, but I've been blessed with tremendous success and live on the beautiful island of Martha's Vineyard. I'm married to an incredible woman. We have 5 children and 4 grandchildren. My passion is truly helping companies grow. I've been starting companies and getting them to major size and proportion over the last 40 years. Most recently, prior to Results, we took Diligent Board Member Services public, and we sold that for $941 million. Today, that company has a valuation of about $2 billion and is continuing to grow. So I'm really proud of that accomplishment. But now I'm with Results, and really our product is focused on helping companies grow. This is part of a 4-week series. You're in week 4, the leadership component. If you missed the earlier sessions on vision, strategy, or execution, that's okay. We've had an overwhelming response to these webinars, and we're going to be redoing the whole series again starting just 2 weeks from now. So second week of November, we kick off again with vision, strategy, then execution in leadership. A lot of what I talk about is things that I've learned over the years, but also I weave in some some teachings that you'll find in Scaling Up by Vern Harnish, Traction by Gino Wickman, and a more recent book called 3HAG, The Strategic Way, the 3HAG Way, based on strategic execution by Shannon Burkowski. I might be damaging her last name, but it's called the 3HAG Way. Stay tuned to the end to learn about a special offer from Results. Time frame wise, folks, this typically runs, this session usually runs about 35-40 minutes. So I appreciate you investing this time today. I'm confident you're going to learn something that you can apply to your business right away and help you drive additional results both this year and as we enter 2020. Last week, we went through vision. What's vision? Quick recap. Who the heck are you? You know, what are your core values? What's your core purpose? Why are you doing it? And really, what's your long-term goal? Sometimes referred to as a BHAG by Jim Collins, a 10-year goal. Tony Robbins calls it your exit strategy. But where do you see yourself? 8, 9, 10 years. So your core values, who are we? Your core purpose, why are we doing this? And where are we trying to get to? So that was last week. We go into a lot more detail on core values specifically. They're real underpinning to building the proper team around you. Then last week we went into strategy. Really 7 components to building strategy. There can be more, but I view these as the major ones. Target market customer, value discipline, core activities versus non-core activities. When I do some consulting or I look at businesses, I typically can find a lot of savings in looking what the non-core activities are that a company might be doing that's not aligned with their long-term strategy. I say, why are you doing that? Oh, because we always have. So strategic positioning, your key benefits of your product, what your brand promise is as a company, and then what long-term strategic moves you're going to have to make to really keep the company growing. So that's strategy, and I'm not going to go into much more depth on strategy, but that top quote, a vision without a strategy remains an illusion. And I sometimes will say a vision without a strategy remains just a dream. So the strategy component's hard work, takes some time. Whether you're using an outside consultant or doing it yourself, it's an important investment of your time. It's a foundational level, so we're not going to get into that today. Let's go back and then last week I did execution, and and again, I'll lead with the quote that I lead this session off with: is a vision and a strategy aren't enough. The long-term key to success is execution, each day and every day. So execution is so key. When we do the execution webinar, we spend a lot of time on SWOT. I also, in light of how rapidly the world's changing and geopolitical challenges that many companies face today, I also do a lot with trends. So I do SWOT analysis with trends. That's also something that's pitched frequently by Vern Harnish. His first book, Rockefeller Habits, didn't talk about trends that much, but later on, his second book, Scaling Up, talked about SWOT with trends. And I believe that trends are a very important part of doing a proper SWOT analysis these days. Face it, the world we live in is changing at a rapid pace. So that's sort of a recap of what we've done over the last 4 weeks. But it all comes down to you, the leader, the executives in the company, whether you're a CEO, whether you're an owner, whether you're a family member of the owner, whether you're an executive and have a team of people underneath you. You can have an incredible vision. You can have a powerful strategy. And you can even have the execution components blocked and tackled. What are we going to do to hit our goals? What are our strategic initiatives for this quarter? What numbers are we going to track? How does what we see out there in the world when we do our trend analysis, and how does everything align with our SWOT? It's kind of an incredible execution component. But still, Harvard Business School says 85, in studies they do year after year, 85% of businesses fail due to poor execution. And it really comes down to you, the leaders. And I don't want to insult anybody today, but it's all about you. You are the people that are going to drive the results you're looking for. And it didn't jump into the leadership component. Here we go. Great quote, Alan Mullay. If you don't know who he is, he helped turn around Ford. He was one of the first CEOs of Ford that didn't have the last name Ford. Did some pretty amazing things. Getting back to something I touched on earlier, when I went through the 7 key components, core versus non-core activity. The first thing Alan did, he got rid of Jaguar. He sold it to a company based in India, I believe. He got rid of all these other entities that Ford had and said, let's focus on Ford. Core activities versus non-core activities. He recognized that, number one, they needed cash. Number two, let's focus on our brand, our name, Ford. One team, one plan, one goal. And this is a quote right from him. Leadership is having a compelling vision, a comprehensive plan, that's a strategic plan, relentless implementation, and talented people working together. So it takes the talent of the leadership team to drive the results you're looking for. Now, this might look really simple. This is the results formula. And I promise you, if you can get in the cadence of following this formula, that you'll grow your business, that your business will become wildly successful. See, if you look at this pyramid that we've drawn here, vision, strategy, and execution. They're just the foundation of everything you're going to do. You do the vision, the strategy, and execution, and let's say you do that in week 1 of a 13-week quarter. It's the attention that drives the results you're looking for. It's constantly revisiting your strategic plan, that foundational level that you've built over the last 3 weeks. If you haven't built it, you really have to do it before the year ends. So you start 2020 with a foundation. First thing, it might sound very simplistic, but the first thing you build when you build a house is the foundation. When you build a building, it's the foundation. Everything sits upon the foundation. So it's so important to put that vision and strategy and execution together. And typically I have, 4 or 5 consultants that'll send me an email after this webinar for the next statement I'm going to make. And I apologize to the consultants that are listening. So many companies invest so much time and energy, they will bring in an outside consultant. Some of you consultants will agree with me if there's any on the phone. They bring in a consultant, they put together a plan, and then it goes into a pile on their desk, and it never gets the attention it deserves. Or they follow it for a little while, and they get sidetracked in all the other crap that goes on in a business and good things that go into business, and they forget to continually give this roadmap, this strategic plan that they've spent time on an outside consultant and money on an outside consultant to put together, and they're not giving it the attention it deserves. So whether you do this with an outside consultant, or you do it with yourself, or you do it using the results platform or any other platform, it's nothing. It's just an intention. It's just an intention. It remains a dream. until you give it the attention it deserves. How do you give it that attention? I believe meetings are the biggest lever you have as a CEO, an executive, an owner of your company. After my first business, I ran that business for 12 years and I sold it successfully. And I went to work for another large company, and I joined as the head up a new division, brand new division that I started, and I was a VP. And there were meetings I used to go to that just seemed like a colossal waste of time. So you really have to learn how to run effective meetings. You should never look at a meeting as if it's a pain in the neck, or in search of a better word, a pain in the ass, a time-consuming, suck of your time. No, it shouldn't be. And unfortunately, this little comedy here, that picture underneath the picture, this is all too common what goes on. Yes, let's have a meeting to discuss the meeting that we just met about before we meet next time. 15% of organizations, for 15% of an organization's or a company's time is spent in meetings. And in surveys, year after year, meetings are rated as ineffective by their managers. So, and 92% of people admit to multitasking during meetings. They're doing other things. They're doing email, they're looking at text messages. So you really have to get meetings effective. I always look at a meeting and I always ask, what is this meeting for? And when I've come into other large companies, I came into another large company, multi-billion-dollar company. I came in as chief operating officer of a company called Flextronics. And man, they had meetings out the wazoo. Meetings after meeting after meeting, corporate meetings in San Jose, corporate meetings on the East Coast, corporate meetings via phone with 17 different global plants. And I would say, what's this meeting for? Oh, I don't know, but we meet every Monday as a team. We make sure we're all on the same page. Oh, so the purpose is to get us all on the same page. And you'd sit into these meetings and they didn't have a clearly defined purpose. So these are the 5 P's of an effective meeting. The first thing I always look is at the purpose of the meeting. Every productive meeting has to have a purpose. People need to know what the meeting is for. Like, what is this meeting for? We are meeting to, bump, 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 state it clearly. When you invite people to a meeting, make sure it's worth pulling those people away from the productive work they're doing for your company. Don't meet just for the sake of meeting. And make sure that meeting, whatever you're accomplishing, whatever you state that purpose is, it can be best accomplished by a group of people working on that meeting at the same time. The first P is for purpose. Define the purpose of that meeting. If I'm having a marketing meeting, I am looking at the marketing qualified leads. I want to know what marketing programs are being initiated this month. And I want a review of all the marketing campaigns that we did last month and how we're tracking against the results and what the cost per lead is. So I stated, these are the 4 or 5 numbers I want to look at. These are the 4 or 5 things that I want to know about the future, our future marketing plans, and that's the purpose of this meeting. So it's very clearly defined why we're having that meeting. And we list right on the purpose, like who's attending that meeting. We don't need everybody from the marketing department for that meeting to give you the sample, to give you the feedback on the sample information that I look for in the purpose of that meeting, right? The next thing is preparation. I had the pleasure and the honor of being mentored by a guy called Bob Trenkamp. And for those of you who've listened to my webinars before, you probably have heard me mention his name. Coming out of working working for my own company from 19 until I was 31, running my own company, I really didn't quite get how corporate America ran, because I always ran my own company and I did it my way. So when I went into corporate America when I was 31, I needed a mentor, and Bob Trenkamp taught me a lot. I was in one meeting with him and I said something and he said, "Show me the data that backs that up, Mark." And I said, "Well, Bob, I can run a report. I can show that to you next week." He said, "The meeting's over." He said, "You come to the report next week with the data we need." He said, "Let me give you a little hint, Mark. Don't ever come to a meeting without data." If you're going to say something, make sure you have the data with you to back it up. Make sure you've distributed that data ahead of time. And I put some comments down below in the white ink there. Meetings without data are a pointless waste of time. They're hearsay, right? Meetings with incomplete data are just incomplete meetings. And meetings with older, out-of-date data are simply dangerous. So every attendee should come with the right data. They should be prepared to share their perspectives in order to achieve that purpose. I've been in a lot of sales meetings and people say, that's not the real numbers because the salespeople aren't entering the data into Salesforce, or they're not entering the data into our CRM system. At that moment in time, I encourage you as a leader to stand up and do just what Bob Trenkamp would have said. Tell the salespeople to key the data in, and we'll meet next week when we have up-to-date data. Meetings with old data, out-of-date data, or incomplete data are they're stupid. They're dangerous. So make sure you're prepared for the meetings. Process. Productive meetings have a clear process defined by the agenda. Another Bob Trenkampism was no agenda, no attenda. I think my very first meeting I held, Bob said, "Let me see the agenda." Well, I just figured we'd go over this and this and this. He said, "You don't have an agenda?" I said, "No, Bob, I don't." He stood up and said, "No agenda, no attenda." Next week you come to this meeting with an agenda, Mark. Thank you very much. He might sound ruthless. I became very good friends with him. Later on, he taught business management classes online through one of those early online schools. Brilliant man. And he was a little crass at times and very direct, but his lessons were spot on. No agenda, no attenda. If you don't have an agenda, the meeting will run on forever. It lacks structure. It lacks a time. Your agenda should always say, this is how long this meeting will be. This is the agenda. We're going to give 5 minutes to this, 10 minutes to this, 6 minutes to this, 2 minutes to this, 2 to this, and we're done. Boom. 30-minute meeting. No agenda, no attenda. Participation. Productive meetings are characterized by everybody participating that's present. I've been in a lot of meetings where you have, Susie silent in one corner and Jim, I have nothing to say at the other end of the table. Gosh, if you have people like that, I encourage you to drive them to contribute. What are your thoughts, or what do you think? What are your thoughts? What do you think? Nice way of saying it, right? Hey, Mark, you haven't said anything. What do you think about this approach? Or what do you think about what so-and-so has said? Encourage participation. If they can't contribute, if they're not giving you meaningful feedback at meetings, and it's a reoccurring event where you have to pull the data out of them or pull them into the conversation, they probably shouldn't be at that meeting. They might even be in the wrong role. And I know some of what I say is harsh, but this is your business. And you have to surround yourself with the right people. And you have to have the right people at those meetings. People should be at that meeting because they have something to contribute, and participating is how they contribute, period. Another P, process. Progress. I'm sorry, I said process, but progress. In a productive meeting, everybody should make progress. You have to move things forward. When you walk out of a meeting that you've just held, people should be much more clear about what they need to do next, what their, I don't mean to sound authoritarian, but what their marching orders were, what their goals are before the next meeting, what they have to accomplish before they meet again. They should feel better off than when they entered. They should have so much clarity about what everyone in that room has committed to or doing before the next meeting. As a leader, you need to hold the staff accountable by reviewing the progress of the KPIs and their projects. Specific projects have to be reviewed for specific KPIs. Now, if you have a project, you have a strategic project that's going to last you a quarter, 1 quarter, you want to make sure that that project is moving forward every single week. You have 13 weeks in a quarter. 13 weeks in a quarter. Maybe week 1, you put your strategic plan together. Then you have 13 weeks to execute. 12 more after that one, actually, right? You have 1 week to plan, 12 to execute. That's 13 weeks in a quarter. Think about it like that. 1 week to plan, 12 weeks to execute. Do that every quarter. So meetings are where you drive accountability. This is where you have to talk to people and you as a leader say, what's holding us up on this? What can I do to help you? What can we do as a company to help you? What kind of roadblocks are you facing? What types of challenges do you have? Let's see if we can figure out how to remove the logjam. What are the issues you're having? Build an issue list. Issue lists are really big in the EOS methodology. That's Gino Wickman's book, Traction. You know, issue list. They focus every meeting on removing issues before the next meeting. So they identify their issues. These are the things that you should be doing. And also, so important, this last white text there, acknowledge achievement and success. People love being acknowledged by their leaders for their success. So these shouldn't just be viewed as a meeting. Wow, Mark's going to come in and beat us up on everything that hasn't happened. No. You need to encourage people and thank them for the progress they have made, even if they've only, let's say they have something only at the 70-yard line. That's still quite an accomplishment, right? So you need to acknowledge where they are, thank them from where they've gotten the project to, and acknowledge achievements and successes. It's a sample leadership meeting I'd like to bring you through. So those are the 5 Ps. Now I'm going to bring you through a meeting, and whether you use the results platform or not, this is a great template. This template is found in our system, but this is a great template for your weekly leadership meeting. I start every meeting out with good news. We're going to go through these. We'll go through each one of them one at a time. A personal good news story, a business good news story. What's your personal good news for this week? What's your business good news for this week? Well, let's see. I'm going to share a real life story with you right now. My personal good news is I traveled to New Jersey and I saw my grandkids in a Halloween parade today at school. That's my personal good news. My business good news is I just signed another client in Ireland, and I'm proud of that. So I like starting with good news. It's a great icebreaker. Starts on a very positive note because we're going to get into some really challenging discussions with my executive team in the next few moments. So I like this. I get to learn a little bit about what's making them tick on a personal level, and I know right away what they're proud of at work when they share their business good news story. Then I go immediately into goals and KPI reviews. I review the numbers. I review the goals. I don't care if it's done in a platform like Results. I don't care if it's done on a whiteboard. I don't care if it's done on an Excel spreadsheet. You need to do it. You need to look at the numbers. I have reviewed the numbers with my team on a daily or weekly basis since 1979. 1979, I started my first computer mail order company. I had a whiteboard. I tracked how many boxes we shipped, how much revenue we shipped, how many returns we got in, what our cash was in the bank. It was on a whiteboard. I could look at that whiteboard and I'd look at it with my executive team. I'd pull my shipping department head back, look at the numbers I had to do with shipping or returns. We'd isolate why returns were happening. You have to look at the numbers every single week. We go back to that quote, executing each day, every day. You have to give your numbers focus each day, every day. And if you hold at least one meeting a week with your staff, just one, that's all I'm asking for, one meeting, 30-minute meeting, everybody will be on the same page. You'll know what divisions are performing properly, which ones need you to roll up your sleeves and jump in and help. And ironically, what I found about meetings, and I'm not meaning to insult any CEOs on the phone today or any business leaders or business owners, but I find that the weekly meetings helps you, the leader, just as much as everybody else, if not more. Because so many times when you're running a business, you get busy in the business of doing business and you don't look at the numbers. So review the numbers, review the goals on an electronic dashboard, on a spreadsheet. No matter how old I am, on a piece of green bar, whatever it is, review the numbers, right? At the beginning of every quarter, you should set 3 major strategic projects. As leaders, if you go to the strategic planning webinar in a few weeks, I'll talk about why only 3. I'm not going to get into a lot of detail as to why only 3 today. Jim Collins says if you have more than 3, you have none. I want you really to focus on the 3 things that are going to drive the biggest results for you this quarter. And you want to review those 3 strategic projects with your executive team each and every week. Make sure they're moving forward. You have 12 weeks to execute. 12 weeks. 13 in total on a quarter, but maybe the first week you spent blocking and tackling and flow charting and structuring the project. You have 12 weeks now to execute. Drill down to specific tasks, understand the roadblocks. If you're using an EOS system, the issues. If you're using Gazelle's methodology, they call them rocks, figure out what they are. Remove those issues, kill those issues, remove the roadblocks, acknowledge success and wins, and always ask, what can I do or what can we do to help? When you see a roadblock, this is your chance as a leader to help your staff, to figure out and give them the help and support they need, whether it's putting additional resources on it, money, some knowledge that you have in your head, whatever it might be. Your job to move it forward. And if you move those 3 strategic projects forward, again, wild success. Parking lot. Why do we have a parking lot? These are items that are not tied to a KPI or project. They're not on the agenda. But it encourages your team to bring other things that are going on. Parking lot item, if it's not beneficial for the entire group, discuss, take it offline. If the HR person says, oh, hey, we got to start planning a holiday party. I say, oh, yeah, but why don't you and I talk about that offline? That's your HR person and you're going to plan the holiday party. If it requires data and they don't have the data, again, say, well, that's a great idea, but hey, why don't you pull that report and we'll look at that next week. Leave it in the parking lot. Leave it parked there for next week's meeting. And if there's no time, do the same thing. Table it for now and discuss it next week. And if it's really silly, just cross it off the list and acknowledge, hey, well, thank you for bringing that forward. But, I don't think, it's really pertinent at this time. Get it out of the parking lot, getting it off your parking lot list in the agenda. Finally, just like we started with good news, we want to end every meeting with a core values story. Each attendee should state one of the company's core values and a shout out with an example of somebody that exhibited that core value during the last week. I walk into a lot of companies, and sometimes I have to wait. And sometimes I'll walk up to the receptionist that's there and I say, "Oh, do you have your list of your core values?" No, very often they'll say, "No, I don't." So, "Do you know what your core values are?" She'll say, "Oh yeah, mate. I think I saw them in our employee manual when I got hired." "Okay." "Oh yeah, they're on the plaque in the lunchroom." I said, "Well, what are they?" "I don't know, but I can bring you to our lunchroom." Maybe they're on the website. Your team needs to be able to state your core values. Your core values are what they're made up of, what those people that you have working for you are made of. They should be exhibiting your core values. We want to take them off that plaque in the lunchroom. We want to take them out of the employee manual. We want to take them off the website and put them in their hearts. So when you end an executive team meeting with a core values story, you have a team member that says, I have a shout out to Jim. Jim stayed the other night to help me get that large shipment out to XYZ Corp. And Jim's not even in shipping. Jim's, in whatever area he's in. And man, I just want to acknowledge that. We wouldn't have gotten that shipment out without Jim's help. So maybe that's the core value we might have attached that to would have been teamwork or going the extra mile or whatever that core value is. It's one of your core values that exhibited the trait that Jim had exhibited. So core values are important. This is your chance as a CEO to reinforce them. This is your chance as a CEO to call out somebody that you're really proud of that week, because you do a shout out too. Just as we started the meeting on a positive note, it ends the meeting on a positive note. Many years ago, I used to refer to this as an Oreo cookie approach. You have an Oreo cookie, you have the nice chocolate wafer, you have all that cream or crap in the middle, and then you have that nice cookie on the top. That's how we did our meeting. We did good news at the beginning, we end on a positive note, and all that heavy discussion, and it was good discussion. Some of them were challenging, might have been a debate or two. All that stuff was in the middle, but we sandwich it, we bookend it with these, starting on a positive note, ending on a positive note. And we walk out. That meeting's done, very productive. We've gone through the whole company in just 30 minutes. This is typically a 30 or 45-minute meeting for me. Wow, back to this formula. There's three other meetings, three other standard meetings that we do, and on our website you can download a white paper on meetings. But it's three other sample meetings that we typically do. I showed the most important one, I think, which is the executive leadership team meeting. But there's a one-on-one meeting. There's individual team meetings. There's an HR meeting component. So there's several meetings that you can run in our platform, and there's recommended agendas. You can modify them to fit your exact needs for your company. But back to the results formula. One thing changed on this slide since I showed it to you in the beginning. Intention times attention to the 12th equals results. See, that's your big lever. 1 week. We spent 1 week planning the vision, the strategy, the 3 strategic projects, and how we're going to track our success towards those 3 strategic projects. And then for the next 12 weeks, we gave it the attention it deserved. Intention times attention to the 12th equals the results you're looking for. In closing, it's really hard work putting together a proper strategic plan. And while it's time-consuming and critical to success, it's actually the easy part. Putting together your strategic plan, you might spend hours upon hours. You might bring in an outside consultant and drop a few $1,000s or more. But that's actually the easy part. If you've invested that money, you have to execute to get a return on your investment. If you've invested the money and the time in putting together a plan, you have to execute to get the return on your investment. Execution is the challenge, and consistency is critical. You have to have that weekly meeting. If you can't run it, have somebody else run it when you're not there. Intention times attention to the 12th equals results. And I told you I'd do a brief infomercial at the end. First off, this will be the third time we repeated this series. I'm sorry it says September and early October, but we are repeating the entire series in November and early December. Okay, vision, strategy, execution, and leadership. I really encourage you to sign up. If you can't make it, sign up anyway. I'll send you a recording about a day after the webinar is over. I love live audiences. It energizes me. But if you can't attend it, we'll still send you a recording. So sign up, please, please. I think you'll find, if you just find one tidbit of knowledge out of any one of these webinars that helps you drive a successful 2020, it's going to be well worth your time. And I intend to make it worth your time. Finally, I'm going to quickly show you the results strategic plan. This is the results one-page plan. It brings you through vision, which is in line with the webinar that we're doing 2 weeks from now. Strategy, which is in line with the webinar we're doing 3 weeks from now. Execution, the webinar we're doing in about 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And you've already seen the leadership, how you really leveraged putting together this whole plan. This sells for just $1 a day. That's right, $30 a month for up to 5 executives. If you've never put together a strategic plan, I encourage you to sign up and try our system. $1 a day, how can you go wrong? We have some other components. The full platform is a little bit more money, where you have very elaborate dashboards and Power BI dashboards and the meeting tool. But this foundational level is so important and well worth the investment of $1 a day to get your arms around building a sound foundation. Helpful videos down the side in each area. So if you miss a webinar or you want a little bit more definition, you can go into any one of these areas and look at that. I'm going to bring you over here, and I'm going to run a quick little one-minute commercial. And finally, I want to thank you, but one more really special offer, and I'll end right on time. I told you I try to keep these to 40 minutes, and we're right at 42 minutes right now. Special offer, sign up for the Results Strategic Plan for just $1 a day. Complete the plan, and I will personally spend an hour with you answering questions or reviewing a specific component of your plan. I welcome the opportunity. I love helping companies grow. So also, if you want to learn about the full Results BI platform with dashboards and meeting components, please go to our website, ResultsBI.com, and schedule a demonstration. Thanks again, folks. Thank you all. Wish you all results. Have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.